I'll admit the vibes in Jacksonville as official vibe master of First Things First are out of control. Out of control. And Nick, I'm glad that, the Chiefs, sometimes I wish the Chiefs did make it. Not only because I'm rooting for the Chiefs.
What do you mean?
He's just all over the place. He's just letting it all hang out.
What do you mean?
Chiefs are
Producers got me something, KW.
What did they get you?
That is a good-looking grill.
4 coaches gone today. Pete Carroll leaving Las Vegas. Raheem Morris out in
I'm
Atlanta.
surprised about Raheem.
Yeah.
They ended with 4 straight wins.
Jonathan Gannon snake bitten in Arizona, and Kevin Stefanski gone in Cleveland after the win got him to 5-12. So the question is, Brew, what does this mean for Shedeur Sanders? Some reports coming out that the Browns think he's their quarterback next year.
Well, look, I feel like, and this is speculation, that what dooms Stefanski, who I think is a good coach, he's a 2-time coach of the year, 2 of the 3 times, coach, they've made the playoffs in this century, he made it twice. So, but I think his handling of Shedeur is what doomed him, because I feel like, and look, I wasn't at practices, none of us were, you were hearing reports, but he probably should have had Shedeur be the backup from the get-go. And once he was done with Flacco, go to Shedeur, and you would have had all season or 11, 12 games, whatever, to see what he could do. He showed us just enough in his 6 games or whatever it was, where I do think Shedeur earned a chance to start. Like next year, go into training camp with, we'll see, but he's got a legit chance to start. He wasn't great. He had moments. He showed you some potential. But as far as the new coach, and I think we're all going to talk about this, Deion Sanders' name out there, I would not, as great a coach as I think Deion is, I would not go that route, because if you hire Deion, you're committing to Shedeur. And he has not shown me enough to know, oh, he's my franchise guy for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, maybe he could show a little, we'll see. But if you hire his dad, he's your guy, and he might not be good enough to be your guy. And I also don't know, Coach, how that works in the locker room when the head coach is the players.
Well, nobody does, because it's never happened.
Right. So that could be strange. Yeah. But I would not go that route for that reason. I'm not ready to just give the franchise to Shedeur.
I mean, with Stefanski, I could see why they got rid of him. I mean, he's a 2-time coach of the year in the last, 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years.
In a division that has 2 potential Hall of Fame coaches, in a division that has 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, in a division that he's consistently been able to find a way to beat Pittsburgh. And I'm sure it was his decision to bring Deshaun Watson, and he was the GM, right, and the owner. And it was his decision. Didn't they draft another quarterback in the 3rd round? So was that his decision? Is he the only one that made that decision to draft that quarterback? So you can kill him for the way things played out from a quarterback perspective, but the GM gets to stay, and there's been a lot of that. This was a very good draft class, so I understand the strength of that draft class, but are we forgetting about Deshaun Watson? Like, does that come into play? Was that a huge detriment to Stefanski's ability to be successful? What about Baker Mayfield? Was he the reason Baker Mayfield left, or was that a GM type decision and an ownership type decision? So it's maybe they're going to be able to go get someone better, and maybe it's Jim Schwartz, maybe it's someone in-house. Obviously, they played great on defense. Schwartz. He's got head coaching experience. They could have continuity on that side of the ball, and then retain the offensive coordinator if they wanted to, because I guess he's got a relationship with Shedeur. A lot of Shedeur's potential next season comes back to how strongly ownership feels about him. So if he feels like that's the guy, then anybody they bring in as the head coach will probably come in with the understanding that Shedeur's got to get the first reps, which means they're probably going to either trade that 2nd overall pick, or they're going to draft another player.
No, they have the 5th overall pick.
Oh, it's the 5th overall. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
okay,
which is
right,
which complicates things.
Right, which makes it a little bit
trickier. And so Jonathan Jones from CBS reported today that they expect Shedeur to enter camp as the team's starting quarterback. It's very interesting because, listen, I really like Jonathan Jones, and I think he's a great reporter. But there's only a handful of people that could tell him that, because the head coach isn't there anymore, and there isn't a head coach in place right now, which means whomever hires the head coach, the owner / GM, I would imagine, has told a reporter before they even start interviewing who the incumbent quarterback's going to be next year, which speaks to Coach's point about Shedeur's incumbency, so to speak. I think there are two people on the Cleveland Browns that this season went well for. Myles Garrett, who we're going to talk about in a minute, and Shedeur. And this season went well for Shedeur despite how poorly Shedeur played. Because Shedeur's numbers are what his numbers are. And the sample size is half a season. Among quarterbacks with as many starts as Shedeur, he was 35th in completion percentage, 29th in yards per game, 24th in yards per pass, which is not bad. Dead last in touchdown to turnover ratio, second to last in passer rating, and 31st in sacks per game. Even by judge a rookie on a curve standards, those are not good numbers.
Well, it's Stefanski's fault.
But because they won just enough games to not have a
three, right? He won three.
His record was that's right.
He was on the field for three of them.
Well, yeah. But because they fell outside of the top three of the draft, and picks 1, 2, and 3 are 3 quarterback needy teams, and it seems like it is a 2 quarterback draft, we think, right now. And because Stefanski is now out, and I think it's fair to say Stefanski didn't appear to be a huge Shedeur guy, I think this worked out perfectly for Shedeur, where the Browns are going to have very little optionality. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to overdraft a quarterback as the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken with the 5th pick of the draft? Probably not. Are we going to spin the free agent quarterback wheel, which is, it seems like Malik Willis and who? Like Daniel Jones is a free agent. He tore his Achilles. Mac Jones is not a free agent. So I am still a seller on the idea that Shedeur Sanders is going to be a long-term, even average, much less above average starter in this league. But he's going to get a shot now. I think that with Stefanski gone, with where they fell in the draft, he is going to get that offseason that he talked about after his first start. Imagine me with a full offseason. I think we're going to get to see it.
Myles Garrett breaks the sack record. Tackles a turtling Joe Burrow for sack number 23. Also got a deal with Jordan Brand. Do you see that, bro?
Yeah. He plays a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
That's true, against the orthodontist.
Yeah, right.
Browns win to finish the year 5-12. Brew, we'll start with you. How will you remember Myles Garrett's record-breaking season?
It was a phenomenal season. Most of it, he had a 4-game stretch with 13 sacks, and that's when he did most of his damage. But just a great year. I think I have a graphic. I know you want to have one that's similar, I'm told, Nick. But where his number of pass plays that he faced.
Yeah. This is impressive.
This is mine.
Yeah, I think they didn't use mine. Sorry, but they didn't make mine because of yours. But you see that?
So that's everyone with at least 21 sacks in a year.
And
it also puts to bed the 17, 16.
Right, 17 games. Hey, look, he's playing for a bad team. Teams get up on him, and then they run the football. And so he didn't have as many opportunities as Strahan and T.J. Watt, who held the record. So that just makes it even more impressive.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, Coach, and leave that up just for a second, because the top 3 are all interesting. So Justin Houston, he entered week 17 that year with 18 sacks. And then in week 17, in a gotta-have-it win-in-your-in game, had 4 sacks to get to 22. But the reason nobody even thinks of that is because it wasn't like on record watch, you know what I mean, throughout the year. Right. Reggie White's year is special because he played 12 games. He had 21 sacks in 12 games, and I have always thought that Reggie White season was the single best pure pass rushing season of my life. I can't speak to Deacon Jones. I don't know. This to me, Coach, is neck and neck with it. Like, as far as a single season pass rushing excellence, this to me is right alongside what Reggie White did in 12 games as the most dominant year I've seen. And that's why I thought the pass attempts is noteworthy, because that's how many chances you're going to have. And they obviously didn't.
White had more than just 12.
Reggie White faced 511 pass attempts in 12 games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, I was really impressed by it, and I was impressed by it because of the record, and I understand it is the extra game. I do think the extra game does come into play to some degree in this discussion. But really, the fact that they had the record that they had, and then typically they were he was chasing pass plays as opposed to having a competitive four-quarter game where you would traditionally see someone like this have a record like he was able to achieve. I thought he was amazing throughout the course of the season, and I understand there was some cynicism because he said he wanted to go to winner, and then he ended up signing back with the Browns.
Solid point.
I respect the fact that he was chasing the record even though the season wasn't bad because success was out of reach in terms of reaching the playoffs. So I don't mind him trying to achieve what he achieved in a really unfortunate year.
I'm fine with it, but some people aren't.
I'll be glass half full. I do wish that the record corresponded and translated more to just straight up wins. And he sacked Caleb, I think, multiple times, and the Bears put up 31 points. He sacked Drake 5 times in that game, and we just easily handled the Browns. That being said, I'm trying to be glass half full. The Giants, when Strahan set the record, the Giants were 7-9. They went 10-6 the next year and made the playoffs. When T.J. Watt tied Strahan's record, they went 9-7. So hopefully, this is a sign that he can be on a winning team. I like Myles Garrett. I just don't like legendary players playing in meaningless games. And having like a little 2-game win streak, I wish this sack was on a meaningful play where the Bengals were trying to drive, and we'll talk about it in a second. But I'll remember it as kind of like, I wish they won more.
But don't you think part of being legendary is the ability to play at a high level, even in meaningless games? Because there's some people who'd be like, hey, I don't want to get hurt.
I agree. I just wish, like, I want him to be Chris Jones comes up with a huge play in a great playoff game. Aaron Donald comes up with a sack and, like, clinches the Super Bowl. That's what I want. And I was just like, oh, we did it. We got to 5 wins.
They should, right. So let me just push back on that a tiny bit. A lot of our legendary single-season records in sports were not great teams. Megatron's record, that team was not that good. I'm not sure. I should have looked it up. Eric Dickerson's record that still stands.
Usain Bolt.
And so a lot of those numbers are a lot of the records Drew Brees still holds. We're on 9-7 teams. I think it is very rare to cross sports. Like Kobe's 81-point game and 35-point per game season was on a 7-seed Laker team. Like a lot of our best individual performances come amidst when they're surrounded by mediocrity. It's there's a reason Chris Jones does not, has never come close to winning a Defensive Player of the Year and doesn't have a bunch of, double-digit sack seasons. Like that doesn't always go hand in hand with, individual dominance like that. So I don't think that's specific to Myles would be the defense. Also, that Reggie White number, that might be the number of pass attempts the Eagles faced all year, even in the games he missed. So it might be even more impressive.
That's a lot.
I know. As soon as you said it, I was doing it. I
40-something passes per game.
Yeah, but I
airing it out.
Back in the day.
On the flip side, Zach Taylor and Jamar Chase were not happy that the game action was stopped to celebrate Myles Stone. Ooh, spot bonus for me.
Oh,
no.
Nice.
Yeah, Ian, back on me. You owe me $5. I loved it.
Look, I will say that I'll salute Zach Taylor and the Bengals. This was a meaningless game for them, but they took it seriously. I will give them that credit. And I also, Coach, I do kind of understand Zach Taylor being like, the officials should have let him know, look, if he breaks the record, we're stopping the game. That said, I mean, come on, celebrate the guy. I get it that the Bengals aren't going to celebrate him, but understand this is a huge record. It's existed for a quarter of a century, so don't get bent out of shape when they celebrate it.
Yeah, fighting for your life, that's a little dramatic for that game. And I promise you, if Jamar Chase breaks a record, he's going to want everybody. Yes. He's going to want it stopped and sign the ball. This was a really incredible moment, and to stop the game at that point, I think that's totally appropriate.
I thought this was an indictment on Zach Taylor. that he didn't realize that the moment justified stopping the game. Where Emmitt Smith was over there like changing cleats and jerseys, they're going to stop the game. Drew Brees, they stopped the game for.
Yeah,
TJ Watt tied it, they did not stop the game.
Tell them?
Well, you should ask.
I agree with you, but the ref
half the
should
stadium was Browns fans
he said
there
they
for
met
that.
with him for 90 minutes before the game. Or I don't know how long.
That's got to come up.
But that the ref
has to
should
come
tell.
up.
The ref should say, look.
Yeah,
if
I
he breaks
agree.
the
I
record-
agree. The ref should tell
Yeah,
him. I
that's
also
all.
think that so the records you're talking about are career records. I watched the video of when Megatron beat Jerry Rice's single season record. The game stops. He goes over. I don't know if it's his dad. He gets the ball to some older gentleman who walks on the field. I should have looked up if it was his dad or not. But whoever, the game stops. Right. There are not a lot of, and Jamar Chase being like, they better stop the game for me. And he took a little shot at Myles. I don't know when he said on the back end, like this was a career achievement thing. It wasn't. This was a single season thing. And by the way, there aren't a lot of these records out there. Because any single season touchdown record, the game stops because you score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And when Peyton broke the record for single season passing yards, he actually did it on a touchdown, so the game had to stop anyway. I couldn't find the tape of when Dickerson did it. But that's all there's passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, and sacks. That's all your records. There's not a lot of them. This isn't going to be like, oh, we're going to have record creep where all of a sudden the game's going to be stopping all the time.
I don't think anybody was shocked by it. Like, were you shocked that they stopped the game?
Of course they stopped the game. I would have been shocked if they didn't.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if they didn't too.
They're just lying.
What if Lamar wanted 12 men on the field when they started something?
I mean, I thought it was.
Take your helmet off.
That's rivals. Don't you think?
No,
that's,
but
it was
I
the
thought
state
it
was lack of
champion.
situational
It was the state championship.
awareness.
Sounds rapes.
Yeah, I think it, and I think this is the reason you like the story. I think that was a sign of a bigger problem with the Bengals.
Correct.
Well, go ahead.
Well, that's why this is just it's my Rolling Stones M&M's theory. That you just, if there's,
okay,
it's too long of a story.
It's not a long story.
It's a long story.
Tell the audience.
Gosh,
It's
great. It's a long
I
story.
don't know if I've heard the story
You never heard the
before.
story?
No.
Oh, it's partly apocryphal. Rolling Stones were traveling around the world, right? So they would have in their rider, hey, no blue M&Ms. So they wouldn't have to go in there and check every light and every sound check. They would just look and see if there's blue M&Ms. And if they see that there's a blue M&M in there, they realize this place is not organizationally sound. Check the microphones. And if they see there's no blue M&Ms, this place is buttoned up. So if you don't realize that half the Browns fans were going to see the record, they're cheering for the Browns. Like, wow, this is the record. Joe Burrow got it out. I had it somewhere. Joe Burrow was getting the ball out like Aaron Rodgers, the fastest game there, because he didn't want to get sacked. The game plan was don't get sacked. So the fact that you were shocked and that this didn't come up, or you didn't ask the refs, it's signs of an organizational issue.
We used to put stuff in game plans. First person to read this gets $20. Make sure everybody was reading. There you go.
Oh, Thanksgiving. Now, I wanted to know there's going to be a turkey out there. Oh, you're going to have food on the field? What's going on here? Yeah, there's a turkey on the field, okay? Well, we couldn't pay attention. There was delicious turkey wafting over. Moving on.
KW.
Just come on, Bengals.
Good story.
Joe Burrow needs to get out of there.
You almost weren't going to get there.
You want everybody to leave
Sometimes
everywhere.
take the ball and go score.
It's not my job.
I
My job
just
is to
set
be.
you
My
up.
job is to be affable.
I knew you had a great take.
Season of angst comes to an end for Brew and the Ravens. Lamar had 3 touchdowns and did look more Lamar-like late in the game.
I mean, again, he could have easily said, oh, yeah, I'm going to be back,
Yeah.
But look, I fully expect Lamar Jackson back. The only thing I think is going to change is the head coach. I think, especially with the way he handled that question we showed earlier. So I think he'll have a new head coach, which as much as I think they should move on from John Harbaugh, I have said on this show, and I believe fully, he has done a great deal for Lamar's career. Like when a lot of people in the league did not believe in him, we saw Lamar early. I'm talking about preseason games, but early as a rookie didn't look like he could handle the NFL quarterbacking. And Harbaugh helped develop him, and he's become obviously a future Hall of Famer. So I do give Harbaugh some credit for that. But that's the only reason I would keep Harbaugh is if Lamar was adamant about it and like, this is the guy I want here. And obviously that doesn't seem to be the case. So I just think for Lamar, I don't think there's any chance he's leaving the Ravens. I do think it seems like he's going to be wanting to talk about a new contract. But again, he just had a great game that lends credence to the notion that he was just hurt, in those 5 games where he didn't play well, but he'll be the regular Lamar next season. And so I just think he'll have a new coach most likely, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fair time to ask Lamar that question, and I really sincerely believe that he's not thinking about that. He wasn't thinking about his future. He wasn't thinking about Harbaugh's future. That's a terrible emotional loss, and you're asking the guy at the press conference afterwards, about something that's down the road. I can't imagine they would think about moving on from him. 2-time MVP, all the success he's had, and granted, it's been bumpy this season, but they're not even in a position where they can move on from him easily. They have a no-trade clause. Right. There's dead money that'll hit this year and next year that's substantial. They do need to address his contract because it's $74 million, which would be 25% of the cap, where his cap number is 15% this year, so you can't really do anything with that.
No, keep going.
And then in terms of Harbaugh.
Well, can we wait on the Harbaugh piece
just
for a second? I want to stay on Lamar for a second. First of all, Wild's spot bonus.
For what? Edgar Allan.
Edgar Allan Woes is, I don't know who did it.
Pretty good.
But that's, and I noticed it, so you have to pay it. So $50.
I pay $5.
Okay. Whichever our producers came up with that, they get it. Do you agree with what Bruce said, that Lamar is coming off a great game?
I thought it was an okay game. I didn't think it was great. He had 9 yards rushing. He was sacked 3 times for minus 16, so he had 25 actual running yards. But
so that's what I the sack yards don't count against his rushing yards, and so no, that's college stats. They don't count. His sack yards don't count against his rushing.
Team rushing.
So they count it. So when he had 9 yards rushing, that's really he only had 9 yards rushing. So because that's kind of what I think how he looked this season and this game has to inform what we think about his future. So I thought Lamar had an unbelievable fourth quarter. Damn near heroic. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like almost saved the Ravens season. I also think for the first 3 quarters of this game, it looked a lot like I'm used to seeing Lamar look in spots like this. Weird, indecisive, and a little shaky. And I thought that, I know, Wilds, you basically said, I don't want to misquote you, you did not blame him seemingly at all for the interception. I think the interception was one of many bad passes he threw early in this game.
I grade interceptions as like Goff's interception, for example. Like, what are you doing?
And I think Lamar's deep balls, too, were a little function of Pittsburgh's defense. I mean, guys are running free.
One of them was
So the one-time guy's running free, but the 4th down one early was, yes, there was Jalen Ramsey bit on something, but it was still, he had to see it, he had to throw it, it was perfect. And the 2 other plays he made in the 4th quarter, the one where he avoided the sack and threw the touchdown to Hollywood, was a 10 out of 10 play by, 15 out of 10 play by Lamar. And the 4th down throw to Likely was as good of a throw and a catch as you're going to see. Yeah.
But did you think, I don't think he was bad early. I just think he was the interception was bad, but they didn't throw a lot. They threw, but the game plan, he threw 6 passes in the first half. That's not on him. That's on the game plan, which I wasn't that mad. I would like to see him throw a little bit more, but they were just trying to run Derrick Henry.
So, Dust, I don't know if we can show his stats, quarters 1 through 3 versus the 4th quarter. I did think he was bad the first 3 quarters. And one of the reasons.
3rd quarter, because he was 4 for 6 in the first half.
Right, but.
So he was 1 for 4 in the 3rd quarter.
And to Coach's point, one of the reasons that, you don't have more pass attempts is you don't get more first downs, you don't have more drives, that the sacks that he took, or the inability, I'm not even going to call it refusal, what right now seems like an inability to trust that he can break off a run. Yeah. Like it ended up being a great decision, but on the deep pass after he avoided the sack to Hollywood Brown, Tirico says, me and Chris are hitting each other saying, Lamar, run, because it was like 3rd and 5, and it looked like he could. He threw the pass instead. So I view Lamar as, at this point, and I don't mean to sound, he's a human being, but in calculating terms, a depreciating asset. I think
at 28 years old.
He's 29 in 2 days. And
at 29.
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Do you feel the
He
same?
should have several years left in his prime.
But that's the thing that we always talk about with great running quarterbacks. You know, there's a lot of young ones, but there aren't a lot of great old ones, because over time they slow down. Their ability to do that decreases substantially. So what was this huge asset, to Nick's point, now becomes an asset that declines pretty dramatically.
Were you going to ask me, do I feel the same way about Mahomes?
Well,
Is that what you're going to say?
A little bit, because I'm viewing from 10,000 feet. If someone who didn't know football and said, what happened to these three great teams that I've been reading about on the internet? The Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Ravens. They're like, you know what? Their defense wasn't good or wasn't as good as it usually is, and their quarterbacks either got hurt or dealt with a little bit of injuries, and they didn't have enough to get through the finish line.
So in the Lamar's, and it's been a trend over the last few years, his pivot from a guy who his ability to run is his fastball to his curveball, but it is a devastating curveball, to it is like a rarely used ephus pitch, I think drastically changes how dangerous he is. I think the fact that this year he suffered 5 different injuries that you're attributing the decline in play to is a major concern. I think then when you add to it that he is, we would think, maybe going to be dealing with a new head coach and looking for a new top-of-the-market contract after what it can only be called a failure of a year for the organization and for the player. That, to me, Brew, is all very complicated stuff. Like, that's why I think Lamar's future is an interesting discussion.
A few years ago, Joe Burrow played 10 games and looked bad. They looked just as good with Jake Browning. He obviously came back. We weren't holding that against him. Mahomes has not looked like Mahomes in 3 years. You know, but and I get it, his history is a resume much better than Lamar's, but still, like, I just think, and I think yesterday Lamar looked like Lamar. I get it. If he can't run like he used to or even close, that does hinder him, but he has become a great passer. I mean, what he did yesterday, all those highlights were passes. Like, he can throw the football.
Most of those highlights were passes that weren't on time. They weren't just the way they were designed. They were him running around and extending plays and making plays down the field. They're not your traditional passing game. I think the other thing that happens with great running quarterbacks when they get paid, if you're making $75 million, your willingness to run with the ball declines dramatically because you don't want to get hurt. The amount of money. So
you think if he got another big contract, he wouldn't run as much?
I'm just saying, when you're making that kind of money, unless it's guaranteed, you're not going to take the same risks that you would take when you were searching for that money initially, because there's too much. There's too much that you could lose.
He hadn't played in a game and a half, so I don't think we were looking at 100% Lamar last night. He started the season at 70 yards against the Bills. It's not like he aged that much, and he's not like going under the knife this offseason.
Think about it.
He just got a hamstring, and then that kind of compounded.
You're basing his demise, if I may call it that, on a 5-game stretch. And he was bad, but early in the year he looked great, and yesterday he was very good.
Let me just respond to that real quick. It's not just the 5-game stretch. I have definitely been the most skeptical of Lamar Jackson's overall. He's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, the resume of that, but overall ability to perform in the biggest spots and make it to the look in January the way he looks every September of everyone on the show. I certainly was the most skeptical. We now have a year of just, from any angle you look at it, it's a disaster year when it was supposed to be, I think, not supposed to be, it was the year the Ravens came into the season for the first time as the standalone Super Bowl favorites. We're about to have a discussion about whether or not they're firing the head coach. And all offseason, we're going to have a discussion of Lamar Jackson, $65 million a year, fully guaranteed for 3 or 4 years, added on to the deal he has. Is that a good idea? And I am just saying, with the thing we talked about Friday, every other quarterback who has as many rushing yards as Lamar had a short prime, and their best years were either in their 20s or the very beginning of their 30s. That it, to me, is not the no-brainer that I think we would have thought going into this season, extending Lamar, whatever it takes, top of the market, Lamar Jackson. I think it's complicated. And I think treating this year like, even if we attribute all of it to injury, then you then say, okay, so 3 of the last 5 years were derailed because of Lamar injuries. 3 of the 5 years of his prime derailed by injury. That's the same number of Joe Burrow years derailed by injury.
But he hadn't been banged up as much as Burrow. He has not missed as many games as Burrow.
No, he hasn't missed as many games, but it's in the last 5 years, the Bengals have made the playoffs twice, and 3 years, Joe Burrow got hurt. 1 year, actually, he didn't get hurt. Their defense was terrible. In the last 5 years, the Baltimore Ravens have made the playoffs twice, and 3 years, we're saying it's because of Lamar injury. That's wrong. They made the playoffs 1 year when he was hurt. He's played in the playoffs twice. It, to me, is a legitimate discussion and a very interesting one for what the new if there is going to be a new head coach, what he thinks.
What he thinks about Lamar's future?
About all of it. I think about all of it. I don't think
you get let's look in that division. Cleveland's been looking for a franchise quarterback forever. Pittsburgh, since Roethlisberger left, they've been looking for. It is not easy to get a franchise guy.
I don't think they're going to move on from him. It's just as he becomes less of a threat as a runner, the coverage has changed because you don't have to put as many people in the box. You don't have to count for him. And most of his wow plays are made as off schedule. They're not traditional pocket passer plays. So as he becomes less effective in that area, has he improved enough in the pocket to still be an MVP type player and merit that type of contract?
And to be clear, if I had the option of just running it back with Lamar, changing nothing other than the contracts, converting some salary to bonus so the cap hit's not as good, but he's got these 2 years left, and maybe making coaching changes we're going to talk about, that's what I would do. I don't think the Ravens are going to have that option. I want to make that very clear. I do not think Lamar Jackson is going to play next year under the contract he has right now.
And I wonder if part of this year was a function of that.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I do too.
On the coaching front, John Harbaugh misses the playoffs for just the second time in the last 8 years. He was asked by a reporter if he wanted to run it back. Harbaugh with the Ravens, 18 seasons, wins 61% of his games, 12 playoff appearances, only 3 losing seasons.
Well, Mike
and obviously
says,
won the Super Bowl in 2012. Do you think it would be a mistake, Coach, if the Ravens moved on?
Yeah, we're having this discussion because the field goal kicker missed a very makeable field goal that should have won the game, and if he makes that field goal, we're not even remotely having this.
Hold on, but we are having this. Another way to phrase that, Coach, is the reason we're having it today and not last Monday was because the Steelers choked against the Browns. The Ravens were in a position where they needed someone else to lose. So it wasn't.
It's been a disappointing season, underachievement.
It has been a disappointing season. So we just talked about Lamar. Has he had a disappointing, underachieving season? That's a big part of why this has been a disappointing, underachieving season. But they still were a missed field goal away from winning the division and being in the playoffs. And you could look at it and say, okay, has he forgotten how to coach? He has won a Super Bowl. And they drafted Lamar when most teams passed on him. He made that transition extremely successful. And you can go get somebody different, but one of the great things about having consistency in an organization is there's efficiency. And when you transition out of a head coach, especially someone who's been there a long time, so much has to change. The coaching staff, the way the scouts look at things, the way you look at free agency, every part of the organization, there's this dramatic makeover. And are they that far away from the talent that they have now that they can't be in the mix? Let's say Lamar has a good season next year, or at significantly better than this year. Aren't they right back in the mix for the Super Bowl again? But now you go get a new head coach. Maybe it's a rookie head coach. He makes a bunch of mistakes. I mean, it's easy to fire guys, but as we see every year, it's hard to find the next guy.
I do agree it's a risk. Just because you know Harbaugh's a good coach, you know, I can't even say there's a floor, because I would have never thought the floor was missing the playoffs coming into this year. But I just think, Coach, 18 years, I said it before, Andy Reid, who's a great coach, was fired. Belichick, the Patriots moved on from him. Like, I just think he's been there that long. And I'm wondering what is going to change next year. If they bring back John Harbaugh, what changes? Lamar, we assume he'll play better, but he played great the previous 2 years or 3 years, and they got nothing. Like, their seasons keep ending in disappointing ways and underachievement, I would say. And we can point to some of the coaching issues, like against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game at home. I get it's not all on Harbaugh, but they're beset by a ton of penalties. They have unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Zay Flowers is taunting. They forget to run the ball in the second half. Like, I think that stuff is coaching. It's the discipline of the organization. Last year, I can't blame them for the Bills' loss, but this year, just the way things have gone, I just think it's just time for a new voice. And I get it is risky.
I mean, but imagine if Philly had kept Andy Reid, and let's say Andy was the reason they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Say Philly has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Are they now the greatest? Are they now? What I'm saying, are they now the best organization? You know, the greatest franchise in the modern era? Do they match New England's amount of Super Bowls?
The Philly argument, oddly, works in the other direction as well. They moved on from Andy Reid, have fired a bunch of coaches since then, and 2 of them have won Super Bowls, even though both of them might kind of be dopes.
Right, one less Super Bowl than Andy had. Right?
No, well, correct. You're saying if they had Mahomes.
He won none in Philly.
I feel like in this discussion, we're like glossing over the most important piece of it. There was a hit piece written about Lamar Jackson that came from the Ravens organization that we spent a week talking about. I think a lot when they're talking about falling asleep in meetings, practice times, taking care of his body, the whole thing in the Baltimore Sun. We talked about it on here that appeared to be a shot across the bow from someone within the organization at Lamar. I've got ideas on who that someone might be. It was someone trying, I would think, to, if the thing goes down, try to keep their job. Lamar Jackson is not a dumb human being. He saw that article. He probably has a lot of the same feelings that I have about where that article came from. The idea, Lamar Jackson was asked about John Harbaugh being his head coach next year at the end of his end-of-season press conference. He's like, I can't talk about that right now. I don't think it is tenable for Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh to be the coach and the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens next season. So maybe they don't move on from John Harbaugh. But that then means the only way to, I think, fix that relationship is the way I guess you fix a bunch of relationships with money, like a ton of money.
Does that fix a lot of relationships?
I think in sports and sometimes in life, too.
Are you saying the things that came up in that article you categorically think are false?
No, I think they're almost all true. But I think that they still had to come from somebody. Like the writer is not hanging out at Lamar's house. The writer is not in
Lamar
meetings.
said the sleeping in meetings things, he laughed at it.
Yeah.
And in terms of John desperately trying to keep his job for the money, I think he's probably got enough money. Do we think he's going to be unemployed for very long, or is he going to get one of these, his choice of the 6 jobs?
No, but the Ravens is a good job. The Ravens is a better job than these jobs open. With bad ownership, and like the Ravens have good ownership, they're good. It's a really good job. I think Tomlin would instantly get a job. The Steelers is great. You still want to keep the job that you have. Like,
if an article was written about your quarterback when you were coaching, and you knew it was false, or you didn't feel that way about you, because they said in the article that Harbaugh's tired of him, sick of him.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh just addressed it when he was asked, and it was he shot it down, but it wasn't.
He said, I love Lamar.
Yeah, I'm asking, would you come out on your own and say, look, there was an article written about our quarterback sleeping in meetings, that I'm tired of him, I don't like him. None of that is true. I love Lamar. Would you come out? I'm just asking, how would you handle it? Would you do it like, because I thought Harbaugh's, it wasn't full-throated, like, this is ridiculous, a full-throated support of Lamar.
Yeah, I don't know what you wanted him to. You just wanted him to be more passionate about it. I thought he was pretty straightforward about how he felt about Lamar. You just didn't feel like it had enough emotion behind it?
I'm just wondering if you would come out on your own to shoot it. Like if somebody said, I don't like Kevin Wiles, they wrote that, I would say, come out and say, that's ridiculous. This is, you know what I mean? Not true.
Myles Garrett. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are the #1 seed after shutting down the high-powered 49ers offense. They'll be resting in the scenic Pacific Northwest, all those trees, while the 49ers are headed to Philadelphia, who also rested. Brew, did this game say more about Sam Darnold, Mr. 14 wins, 4,000 yards, nothing to shake a stick at, or Brock Purdy? He had 3.
Now you want to talk Purdy. The last 2 weeks when he had 5 touchdowns in each game.
We talked about it.
I did. Nick did. You sat there quiet.
He had 3.
You had nothing to say. Now you're all loud.
It's my job to read the news. The guy had 3. Sam Darnold.
Look, Trent Williams was out. Oh. Ricky Pearsall, who is not great, but he's one of their best receivers, was out. He needs his weapon. That's a great defense. My answer is this. We know Purdy is not, the moment is not too big. He's played in the Super Bowl. He's been good in playoffs. He'll be fine. Darnold, though, wilds. You just brought up in the break Phillip Rivers, 44 years old, off the couch, on the couch for 5 years, comes in. Against this same Niners defense, Coach, he threw for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. Darnold threw for 198 and no touchdowns, and Caleb Williams threw for more than 300 yards, 2 touchdowns against this Niners defense. So, look, Seattle's really good.
They're great.
The weak link is Darnold. And I'm not saying he's weak. He's a good quarterback. But he's the weak link, and when you talk about them reaching the Super Bowl, and he couldn't light up this Niners defense, which is weak, that's a problem.
He was the issue, not the guy who had 3 points. Guy won 14 games.
Well,
Purdy was facing a much better defense than Darnold was.
Fair.
Yeah, to me, that's what it comes down to, is the 2 defenses. So Seattle now is 6 in sacks, 6 in takeaways, top 10 in almost every defensive category, where San Francisco's dead last in sacks. I think they're 15th, at the middle of the pack in takeaways. It's not comparable in terms of the challenges that each side face. So I think you got to grade Purdy with a little bit of a curve here versus Darnold. I thought Darnold was going to light him up a lot more than he lit him up, like most people did, like the guy who came off the couch did. And that was disappointing to me.
Thank goodness.
So, well,
that's your guy. I want to hear your
double-digit win is what
No, listen. I think the Seahawks are incredibly dangerous, but that is somewhat despite the concerns about Darnold. So I'll get to those in a second. On Purdy, listen. Purdy he's allowed to have a bad game. He had a bunch of really good games in a row and 2 exceptional games in a row. It is not lost on me.
He's had a decent amount of bad games over the last 2 years.
Say it again?
Purdy's had a decent amount of bad games over
but
the
he was
last
on
2
a
years.
string of really good games. It's not lost on me that Christian McCaffrey finally has a bad game and the offense can't move the ball. Like that was my takeaway on it. Here is my concern, KW, for your guy Sam Darnold. And is he your guy?
So he's got to be somebody. He's got 14 wins.
And listen, and I think
the #1 seed.
I think the Seahawks can win the Super Bowl.
Yes,
I want to make it
can.
clear. I think they can. I don't think it's like, he's destined to cost them. What is true is, for half the season now, he's been very mediocre.
Yes.
If we cut the season in half, before and after the Rams game. Before the Rams game, he's cooking. And that's why when he had the bad Rams game, his teammate was like, man, he's the reason we're in this position, with defending him. Since that Rams game, man, 8 touchdowns, 10 turnovers, and 83 rating. It speaks.
Wait, how many turnovers do you have in the
4?
But that's in the after column.
No.
Where's the line of?
The before is everything leading up to the Rams game. The after is the Rams game moving forward.
So he had 4 in that game.
All right, that's fine.
Should we take those 4 out?
But just like Jalen's.
No, that's fine.
But turnovers come in bunches.
But KW, then it's 8 touchdowns in 8 games with 6 turnovers. Even if we take that game out.
But last year, the final game of the season, that was Detroit, right?
Yes.
And that wasn't very good.
No.
It was bad. This was better.
He's the number
But
1 seed, guys.
That's what I'm saying is the positive about this.
Yes.
Is he wasn't the reason they lost the game.
Okay.
And no, but Kevin, here's the challenge I think with Sam Darnold is, can he do what he did when the pressure wasn't on, when the pressure is on? And the upside of this year versus last year is he didn't do anything to kill him in this last game, and they do have the number 1 seed, where they lost it, right, to Detroit, the final game?
Last year.
So a year removed, at least we've taken that step.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, he has 28 wins, 8,300 yards, and 60 touchdowns. And now he went to a new team, was cast off, went to a new team, and now is the number 1 seed. I think he's pretty good.
He is, and now he's got a chance in a big moment to prove.
You can't be Mr. Quarterback Wins and be like, you know who I was impressed by? The guy who scored 3 points.
He's not Mr. Quarterback Wins. You're Mr. Quarterback Wins.
But he's my friend.
Should they put in Mac
He
Jones?
sits
Is
next
that what
to
you're
me.
saying?
No, I'm just saying. Sam Darnold's just
Mac would have
winning.
scored 20.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.